Well, hey, in this video, we are going to talk about 5 things you need to know to avoid online dating disaster. And today I have Danny in studio. Now, Danny is our resident online dating person. He is now married. He found his wife. It's been a successful story for you.
Yes, it has.
But I think this is good because, listen, what's the percent of people that are online dating anymore?
I think it's like, as of 2017, close to 40% of people use an app or a website.
Okay, so we're beyond that time where I know early on people are like, that's weird, why would you meet someone online? But now anymore with social media and the way the internet works, it's a great way to meet people, potentially.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you have 5 tips for us today.
I do have 5 tips, and these are things that I learned through doing online dating for about 6 years on and off.
Okay,
And
so what's your first tip, Danny?
my first tip is not to date in isolation.
Okay.
And I think there's a temptation when you're doing online dating. It's like social media to some extent. It's like, oh, I've got to spend 2 to 3 hours making a profile, and now I have to look through all these people. And just the nature of the way it works makes you think in terms of yourself.
Okay.
You don't have those natural filters that you would if a friend sets you up, or if you met somebody at school or work or church or whatever. So there's a huge temptation to date or to do online dating in isolation.
Okay, so what would be some of the pitfalls of that? Like, give an example of if you're dating in isolation and you compared it to like if someone set you up. What's the fear that can happen if you don't share it with anyone else?
It's like anything in the Christian life is you don't have accountability.
Okay.
And you can get sucked into maybe being interested in someone that you really shouldn't be. And then if you had a friend or a mentor or somebody to be like, you know that this person's not good for you. Like, you just like the way they look or whatever else.
So it can kind of be that accountability, kind of throw up a red flag if they see something.
Absolutely.
Okay. What's the next tip you have?
The next tip I have is to avoid the grass is always greener syndrome.
Okay.
And this is another thing that a dating app or website can foster is when you open it up at first, it's like, here's
all people.
A whole field of people, and you're like, oh, you find this person, oh, they look great, and then maybe you'll talk to them for a little while, but then like, oh, you found I really want to date someone who's 5'7" or 5'8" or whatever the height or whatever the weight is or whatever little stipulations you have. And you can just keep looking beyond me like, oh, well, I didn't really get to know this person, but that person looks more interesting. And you're never satisfied because you're always looking at the grass being greener on the other side.
Okay. And so what's the downfall of that? And how is that different than if you go out on a date with someone in a more conventional way?
I think it's, well, first of all, you don't have the fallout that you would if you actually talk to someone in person.
Yes.
It's almost like an internalized thing. It actually affects you more than other people.
Okay.
Not to say that it doesn't have effects on how you deal with people, but it changes your thinking.
Okay.
Well, for me personally, it started online, but then it even filtered out into real life.
Okay.
Just like thinking very critically of people. Be like, oh, I can do better than that. Or, it's like, well, this person has a lot of merits.
Right. So instead of it being like this person also has feelings, you're kind of looking at them like, well, are they making my checklist?
Exactly. And that's that whole self-focused thing, the dating in isolation.
Okay.
It can become a vicious cycle if you don't have some accountability.
Okay. That's good. All right. What's your next tip?
The next tip is there aren't as many fish in the sea as you think.
That sounds sad.
I know.
Okay, so what does that mean though? Because online dating makes us think that there are.
Exactly.
Okay.
So it's sort of tied into the grass is always greener idea. It's just when you see that there's 500 matches, it's like, okay, well, first of all, half these people haven't been online for 3 to 6 months. They just they'll keep the profile up because it's better to say, look how many people we have available.
I see.
And the other assumption is just because it shows up as a match for you doesn't mean that this person's interested in you.
Well, and that's a good point. That just because you're matched doesn't mean that that doesn't mean someone's reached out to you saying, hey, I'm interested in getting to know you.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's so many steps to this. It's like, first of all, do they even want to talk to you? Okay, they'll talk to you. You talked. Or do you even want to talk to? Do you like talking to each other? Okay. Are you going to decide to meet? Like, there's so many steps to go through before you would actually go out with someone.
Okay.
So it just creates, I think, a false sense of opportunity that doesn't exist.
Right. Okay. I get that. All right. What's our last tip?
Our second to last tip.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I can't count.
Is the idea of becoming addicted to the process itself. So And there's two sides to this. First is kind of the social media side, and studies show, everybody's talked about it, like social media is addictive.
Yes.
Even if you're not doing online dating
Yes.
with it, it's just the dopamine hit. Oh yeah, I got 7 likes on this, or I need more likes.
Right.
You know, and it's the same thing with when you do an online dating app or site, it is a social media app. So all the problems that come with Facebook or Instagram or whatever also come with online dating. But now add in the fact that people are looking to date each other.
Right.
And just I think the idea of just getting messages from people or getting a little wink or a nudge from somebody, that can become, that's thrilling. That's like,
right.
Because I think a lot of times we turn to online dating because we can't find people.
Right. Right.
And so then to be thrown into this sea where it looks like everywhere people are interested or they're wanting to talk to you, like that's you know, that gives you a little boost.
I would imagine, now online dating wasn't a thing when I was in the dating scene, but I can imagine like the hook of wanting to come home after work and see like if anyone responded or sent you a message or whatever, and like that could become a very addicting thing.
Absolutely, 100%. And then it's just, I mean, for me, it was the sort of thing where if I would get a message from someone, I would stop what I was doing and
whatever
be like,
you were doing.
I'm doing homework, I'm doing short, it doesn't matter what it is. Whoa, I got a message, I got to stop.
Okay.
Because I got to check it.
That's good to keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the last point is the idea of falling into this cycle of perpetual dating or perpetual online dating.
Okay.
And I think this is really important for Christians especially because while there are certainly some unhealthy perspectives when it comes to dating in the Christian world, there can be, we can do the opposite. You know, in the idea of wanting to be free and wanting to be able to date, we can take the wrong perspective. So when for a Christian who wants to date, your ultimate goal should be marriage. Okay. Now that doesn't mean like don't go out to coffee with this person unless you'd marry them, which is the unhealthy opposite of that. But we can lose focus. We can forget why we're doing this in the first place, and it can just become about, I like the thrill of talking with a new person, or going, ooh, nobody I know knows them, nobody they know knows me, and we're gonna go meet in the city, and we're gonna have a coffee or go out or do something.
Which is really interesting because I think once people get married, you know, the thrill of getting to know someone, that obviously goes away over time. Not that you don't discover new things about your spouse, but if you kind of set up your expectation of a romantic relationship as always about the thrill of the new, then if you do get married, that's kind of an unhealthy expectation to have. Like, you're going to have to find different ways of being excited about understanding things about your spouse. It can't be, oh, I've never met you before. And you know, like it gets old hat after a while.
Right. So my caution would be exactly like you said as well. In the long term, that can become a problem if you adopt this philosophy. But in the short term, just trying to meet someone, that is the wrong perspective to take in. It's not about you. It's not about feeling good or just doing this dating thing. Like, if you're a Christian, the goal is to try and meet a person that you might be able to marry at some point, and don't lose that because of all these other the trappings of how you're going about dating.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay, so use those questions. Have a conversation with someone in your world, especially if this is kind of the season of life you're in. Pay attention to these tips that Danny's offered, and make sure that you avoid the online dating disasters.